888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry L. Did you all set your clocks back 10 pounds? So much to get to between now and the close of the program. We're going to be speaking with John Lott in the third hour about the falling support for gun control. You think maybe because crime is rising? Because we've got this defund the police movement? Because cops are stopping fewer people, arresting fewer people, that maybe, just maybe, people feel, oh, I don't know, less safe? The suspect in the Waukesha Christmas parade had a history of, wait for it, domestic violence, including an allegation of running somebody over in a car. One wonders why he was still on the streets. Former Obama doctor says Joe Biden didn't get the cognitive test because he knew that he would fail miserably. How does it feel to be led by a guy who won't take the cognitive test? You know, China's becoming increasingly more aggressive. Speculation that they may try to even invade Taiwan. Russia may invade Ukraine or at least stage a coup. And we've got a guy who won't take the cognitive test because his doctor or former doctor says he would fail miserably. I don't know. Makes me feel a little insecure. Probably not you if you're a Democrat. Because after all, at least he's not sending out nasty tweets in the middle of the night. Polls shows that Kamala Harris and Michelle Obama would lead Democrats in 2024 if Joe Biden doesn't run. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? They try and drop kick Kamala Harris. They better substitute her for another black female. And when you look at that, the bench is pretty shallow. Michelle Obama is not interested in politics. Oprah Winfrey not interested in politics. Susan Rice, are you kidding me? The reason Obama did not put her for Secretary of State is because she went on those talk shows and lied all those times about Benghazi. She's not. Stacey Abrams still argues she won the election in Georgia, which would rob the Democrats of their attack line against Donald Trump if Donald Trump's the nominee in 2024. That gets you down to what? Winsome Sears and Condi Rice, both of whom are Republicans. Wrong party. Shallow bench. Salvation Army donors are withdrawing their support in response to the Salvation Army's wokeness initiative. A lot of would-be donors are kind of ticked off at being accused of being systemically racist. All of that and more. 888-971-SAGE. 888-971-7243. But first, there's a new COVID strain. Some are calling it Omicron. Some are calling it Omnicron. And as a result, Joe Biden has restricted travel, since this virus is alleged to have come from South Africa, to several countries in South Africa, including South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Lesotho, Mozambique, Malawi, and Eswatini, according to a senior official. Now, I'm old enough to remember when Donald Trump restricted travel to African countries and was accused by Joe Biden of racism and, of course, of hysterical xenophobia.
This is no time for Donald Trump's record of hysterical xenophobia, and fear-mongering.
So now when Biden does it, I guess he's just following science. Here's a tweet that Joe Biden put out in February of 2020. This is before he became president. Quote, Trump further diminished the U.S. in the eyes of the world by expanding his travel ban. This new African ban, and he puts it in quotes, this new African ban is designed to make it harder for black and brown people to immigrate to the United States. It's a disgrace, and we cannot let him succeed. End of quote. Here's an article I have in my baby brown libertarian hands from CNN, February 5, 2020. Headline, Trump's latest travel ban is an attack on Africans. And it's written by somebody who is a Nigerian American. Quote, as a Nigerian American and as a human rights defender, I have been paying particular attention to this ban as my community is most impacted by it. The president continues to engage in problematic behavior that undermines the U.S. democracy and goads countries that have proven to be a menace with the threat of war. What many of us have noted is that for the Trump administration, claims about national security are often a pretext for covert racism. The goal is to instill fear in a segment of the population and puts communities of color in jeopardy. The connection of xenophobia and anti-black racism is as clear as day. End of quote. Says this article in CNN. And now that Joe Biden is announcing a travel ban for South Africa and several other countries in Southern Africa, citing this new variant, what are the same people going to say now? Just asking. By the way, Florida is reporting the lowest daily COVID-19 cases per capita in the U.S., tied only with one other state. Meanwhile, Michigan, where the governor opposed a mandate almost as strictly as the one here in California, highest in the nation. In connection, the Biden administration is sending 44 medical personnel from U.S. military to support 2 hospital systems in the state of Michigan. The team is going to assist health workers at a hospital in Dearborn and one in Grand Rapids, dealing with the growing number of COVID-19 cases in the state. Hospitals in Michigan say they don't have enough emergency rooms and staff shortages. Recall the Governor Whitmer, who imposed, as I said, a mandate almost as severe as the mandate here in California. And now she says, I'm grateful the federal government has granted our request to provide much-needed relief to the healthcare personnel who have remained on the front lines of this pandemic, end of quote. Is she going to say, I was wrong, I shouldn't have imposed the mandates that I did? Of course not. Meanwhile, this clip of the late comedian George Carlin has begun to surface. Listen to this.
It's just one more way of reducing your liberty and reminding you that they can with you anytime they want, as long as you put up with it. As long as you put up with it. Which means, of course, anytime they want. Because that's what Americans do now. They're always willing to trade away a little of their freedom in exchange for the feeling, the illusion of security. What we have now is a completely neurotic population obsessed with security and safety and crime and drugs and cleanliness and hygiene and germs. There's another thing. Germs. Where did this sudden fear of germs come from in this country? Have you noticed this? The media constantly running stories about all the latest infections, salmonella, E. coli, hantavirus, bird flu, and Americans they panic easily, so now everybody's running around scrubbing this and spraying that and overcooking their food and repeatedly washing their hands, trying to avoid all contact with germs. It's ridiculous, and it goes to ridiculous lengths. Besides, what do you think you have an immune system for? It's for killing germs. But it needs practice. It needs germs to practice on. So listen. If you kill all the germs around you and live a completely sterile life, then when germs do come along, you're not going to be prepared. And never mind ordinary germs. What are you going to do when some super virus comes along that turns your vital organs into liquid? I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to get sick, you're going to die, and you're going to deserve it because you're weak and you got a weak immune system. Now,
when we come back, more on this new variant, Omicron or Omicron. Sounds like a Marvel villain, doesn't it? I'm Larry Elder. Don't leave town.
Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
Because the left is trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out, again, who's going to comply. Are you going to comply? Who's going to resist? Are you going to be willing to resist? How much power and coercion, this is what the left is trying to figure out, will it take to break the rest of us, the nonconformists? And who are the reliable, useful idiots? And sadly, there's plenty of those in the media. I've been telling you time and time again, we can't trust our institutions, the media being one of them. If you want to know what the left is thinking, you can look at the New York Times. You can figure out the angles they're coming from. There's other places, Vox, Slate, so on, etc. You can figure out, and you should know where they're coming from. Quite frankly, Washington Post is another one. Huffington Post is another one, and you can figure out where the left is coming from.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
To hear the White House press secretary blame Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott and other Republican governors for playing politics by trying to preserve jobs, not let people get fired over the vaccine mandate. What's the political gain for a governor to stand up to a tyrannical machine and say, you're not going to fire people because they don't want to put a medicine in their arm? You can't try to draw that line in the sand and say, well, the government shouldn't do it, but businesses can. We're either going to fire people over a personal medical decision or we're not. You're splitting hairs when you say, well, now the government, Gary Kelly flat out said, we don't want to do this at Southwest Airlines. He knows that this is a work stoppage. What's happened in Southwest, it isn't weather. They're not having any computer glitches. They got people working who aren't going to show up, and they're going to try to send Southwest a message. And Gary Kelly, the CEO of Southwest, admitted it by saying, we don't want this. Biden's making us do it. The government's making us do it. These zealots in charge, the kind of tyrannical governors we saw putting lines in the Home Depot, and you can go to the garden section, but you can't go to the towel section, and all this crap. Put a mask on to walk to your table and take the mask off when you sit at the table. Like you can't spread COVID at the table, but you can when you're walking to the men's room. Are you kidding me? Would you stop it? And worst of all, forcing people to take a vaccine or get fired.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
The image of Superman in a homosexual kiss. Because DC Comics, I guess they don't want to sell comics. And now the new Superman, the son of Kal-El, is going to come out as gay, or as Jeff pointed out, I guess he's bi, right? Whatever, who cares? But here's the bottom line. This is beautiful. I hope Media Matters is writing this one up. Hey, Zachy Poo, are you typing? How many homosexuals?
Call the Larry Elder Show now at 888-971-SAGE. That's 888-971-7243. Eldorado's Let Larry Know What's on Your Mind.
Yeah, it's Tony calling from St. Paul, Minnesota. I want to ask you, Larry, wasn't President Trump accused of being a racist because he wanted to interfere with the flights of airplane coming from China or someplace? And now Biden's opening it up, or closing it down too. He must be a racist.
888-971-7243, 888-971-SAGE. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. You know, the hypocrisy just smacks you in the face, doesn't it? I'll get back to that in just a second. This is our, second week now with our Angel Tree Camp for Christmas. And Christmas is what, 27 days away? So today, these are the final few weeks of my annual campaign to help kids who have a mom or dad, or sometimes even both, believe it or not, in prison. Allows them to experience, nevertheless, the joy of Christmas and the love of Christ through the non-profit Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree campaign. You know, the guy that started Prison Fellowship went to my college, Brown, Chuck Colson. Every Christmas, with the generous help from listeners like you a few years before I was there, Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree delivers gifts and the gospel to hundreds of thousands of kids all across the country on behalf of their incarcerated parents. Now, you can make a difference, I mean an eternal difference, in the lives of these kids when you support Angel Tree. I met many of these Angel Tree kids at summer camps. And if you don't think that your donations change lives, you ought to come down sometime and visit one with me. So just go to my website, LarryElder.com, click on the Angel Tree banner. The cost to help reach just one child with Angel Tree is just $25. $125 will help reach 5 kids. You can do the math. Listen to Cassidy. Cassidy's dad is in prison. She knows from personal experience how Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree volunteers make Christmas so special.
If you're thinking about donating to Angel Tree, it's a really good thing to do, to contribute to us kids, because it'll make us feel special and make us feel like we're important in life, and it'll make us feel loved, you know, and everyone wants to feel loved. Thank you, Angel Tree, for helping me connect with my dad. Makes me feel important.
This is what it's all about, isn't it? And your gifts make it happen. Let's make this Christmas the best holiday ever for as many kids as possible. Please call my special donation number, 888-206-2763. That's 888-206-2763. Or you can just go to my website, LarryElder.com, click on the Angel Tree banner at the top. Again, my special donation number, 888-206-2763. 888-206-2763, or go to my website, LarryElder.com, and you can click on the Angel Tree banner. And thank you so much. By the way, you can watch the show on youtube.com/The Larry Elder Show Radio as we do it. Crime has gone up all over the country. I'm going to get back to COVID in just a second, but I just want to say something real quickly about crime here in California. The voters passed 2 propositions. 147, we've talked about that before, that says you can steal up to $950 without fear of committing a felony. You committed a misdemeanor, and if you're caught, you get a ticket. As a result, shoplifting has gone up like crazy all over this state. Also, voters passed a proposition called Proposition 57. They made a bunch of crimes non-violent, and therefore the criminal, if he or she gets convicted, serves substantially less than they otherwise would, because after all, these are non-violent crimes.
No, I'm just...
You want to know what some of the non-violent crimes are under Proposition 57? And I kid you not. Human trafficking of a child, non-violent. Rape of an unconscious person or by intoxication, non-violent. Drive-by shooting at inhabited dwelling or vehicle, meaning somebody in the dwelling, somebody in the car, non-violent. Assault with a firearm or deadly weapon. We used to call these crimes aggravated assaults. They're non-violent under Proposition 57 in California. This is already passed. These are all the laws. This is already going on right now. Assault on a police officer, non-violent. Serial arson, non-violent. Exploding a bomb to injure people. You know what Bill Ayers tried to do? Non-violent. Solicitation to commit murder, non-violent under Proposition 57. Assault from a caregiver to a child under 8 years old, non-violent. Felony domestic violence, non-violent. It's one of the reasons I ran for governor in California. But Californians were far more concerned about a, quote, Republican takeover, close quote, than they're concerned about the rise in not just shoplifting, in violent crime. Shootings, homicides, up dramatically. In part because a whole bunch of people are on the streets who otherwise would not be on the streets to be behind bars. And this governor bragged about the number of convicted felons he'd released early. Under his supervision, since COVID, nearly 20,000 convicted felons released early. And according to an article in the Associated Press, nearly 75,000 more are eligible for early release over the next few months and few years. I kid you not. We've got soft on crime DAs, George Soros' fingerprints over all of them. Either he supported them, his organizations did, or organizations with the same philosophy did. And these are DAs that believe in cashless bail. So you get busted, you get arrested, cashless bail, meaning no consequences if you don't show up for your court date. And the governor signed, after the recall election that he survived, bills to reduce crime enhancements. Why? Well, because a disproportionate number of people of color are involved in gang activity, and it's just not fair for these people involved in gang activity to go to prison when they are disproportionately people of color. It's just systemic racism. This is madness. This is going on in Democrat-run cities all over this country. Chicago on track for more homicides than any year since 1996. Philadelphia, known locally as Killadelphia, on track for record homicides. One of the big reasons, cops are pulling back. We used to call it the Ferguson syndrome. Now it's called the George Floyd effect. You're accusing cops of systemic racism? Okay. We'll pull back. Fewer traffic stops, fewer arrests, crime goes up, and guess who gets hurt? The very people that people like Gavin Newsom, Joe Biden, and the whole crowd claim to care about. Madness. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
He is America. Captain America's trying, but nah, not so much. It's Superman. That's why kids have loved him. Adults have loved. When I saw Superman, I was 8 years old, and I saw Christopher Reeve. You believed a man could fly. And I wanted to be an American, and now I am. But they've killed it. They killed James Bond in the new movie. Sorry, guys, spoilers. I've seen it. It's crap. Don't waste your time. They killed James Bond. Dead. Gone. Because I guess what? He was too sexy? Too toxic in his masculinity? Gone! And now they've done it with the Superman franchise. I posted this yesterday. Turned my Instagram on fire. The image of Superman in a homosexual kiss. Because DC Comics, I guess they don't want to sell comics. And now the new Superman, the son of Kal-El, is going to come out as gay, or as Jeff pointed out, I guess he's bi, right? Whatever, who cares? But here's the bottom line. This is beautiful. I hope Media Matters is writing this one up. Hey, Zachy Poo, are you typing? How many homosexuals, how many gay people are there in society? 1%, 1.5%. Let's be generous. Let's double it. 3%! 3% of America are gay. And the gay people I know, they don't rub it in your face.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Mark Milley admitted yesterday that for that pathetic pseudo-journalist Bob Woodward for his new blockbuster dishing book of scandal, Mark Milley gave him hours of interviews. Hours? Sorry. How busy should the chairman of the Joint Chiefs be? Just curious. Is the Taliban is ready to take back Afghanistan? These are interviews he gave this stinking year. This year. Is the Taliban is rising? Is China is building its military? Is Iran is threatening us? Is Russia is being ever more militaristic? You're sitting down for hours with an avowed, rabid Democrat, quote-unquote, journalist to give inside scoops on how you stood up to President Trump by undermining the chain of command that you by the Constitution are not a part of? What the hell are you doing? Maybe those hours could have been spent, I don't know, reading the Long War Journal by our friend Bill Roggio, where he predicted in March that the Taliban would be in control and Kabul would fall. Maybe you would better spend your time reading books like Cynical Theories, reading the works of Chris Rufo about what critical race theory really is and why it's racism and bigotry. But oh no, you had to be a politician.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe.
Hi, Larry. I'm calling about that guy that ran over all those people, in the Christmas parade. And I mean, the guy has a rap sheet, just very long. He should not have been out on the streets. And we got these prosecutors that are just soft on criminals. I mean, all we want is something that's fair. We got people locked up that shouldn't be there, and we got people just running over people with their automobiles because they're at a Christmas parade. They should be locked up. This guy should have been locked up a long time ago. In my area, we got just shoplifting just going crazy. They just take big old bags of stuff and walk right out the door. I asked the clerk there at Walmart, I said, ain't nobody going to stop him? They said, no, we've been told not to. I asked around, and they said, well, the prosecutor don't really like to do nothing with that. He just gives them a ticket.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Absolutely insane. Insane. Now, all of you out there know that MyPillow doesn't have box stores. They don't have shopping channels, and they have been canceled by places like Bed Bath & Beyond because Mike Lindell dared to suggest that the 2020 election was problematic. Let's put it that way. Doesn't matter that Stacey Abrams says that her Georgia gubernatorial election was stolen. Doesn't matter that Hillary for 4 years has been referring to President Donald Trump as illegitimate, and that the election in 2016 was stolen. No, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that Al Gore believes that the Supreme Court put George W. Bush in office, and people like Gloria Allred referred to him as President-select. But you let Mike Lindell question the 2020 election, and he can no longer sell his goods in brick and mortar stores. It's outrageous. So he now wants to pass along the savings directly to you. You can get the lowest price in history of MyPillow for their classic standard MyPillow, regularly $69.98, now only $19.98 with promo code. Queen size, regularly $79.98, now $24.98. King size, $89.98, now only $29.98 with promo code. And MyPillow, as you well know, is not just pillows. They now have over 150 products, everything from sleepwear to my new beds. Promo code also works on mystore.com and frankspeech.com. So go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-890-1843. Use promo code Larry. Take advantage of Mike's special offer on his standard MyPillow. That's mypillow.com, promo code Larry, or 1-800-890-1843. That's 1-800-890-1843. Let's go to Josh. Josh is in Wisconsin. Josh, hope you had a happy Thanksgiving.
Huh?
I said, I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving, Josh.
Oh, I kind of did, man, but I was still talking over that Waukesha tragedy.
Yeah.
I don't know how it happened just after we got a not guilty verdict. I was happy, and then that happened. But I don't want to go into that. But my question for you, Larry, is how do you feel to be a successful black person in America?
Is that a serious question?
I'm serious, because you were able to be successful without affirmative action, and you were successful before America had its first president, first black president. Sorry.
Right.
So how does it feel to be a successful black person in America?
All right. Well, Josh, if that's a serious question, and it appears to be, I'll give you a serious answer. By the way, my detractors would say that I did benefit from affirmative action, because affirmative action was in place when I went to college and went to law school. And the reason I reject that is because the assumption is, but for race-based preferences, I'd be driving a truck. Not that there's anything wrong with that, or working the deep fry at McDonald's. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You can't get somebody to work in the deep fry at McDonald's. Maybe I'd probably make more money working the deep fry at McDonald's than practicing law. Well, it's what Winsome Sears the other day just said. The lieutenant governor elect of Virginia. She said, all I did was work hard. And that's all I did. All I did was work hard, stay focused, and invest in myself. I mean, this is America, for crying out loud. That's why people are trying to brave shark-infested waters off the shores of Cuba to get here. That's why people are coming up here illegally. This is America. You can't make it here. You can't make it anywhere. I didn't do anything special, and I never felt that I did anything special. I think that God blessed me with certain skills and abilities, but if you don't take advantage of them, what good are they? Somebody once said, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I worked hard, and this is what's supposed to happen. My goodness, my dad left home at the age of 13 with an 8th grade education, had an illiterate mother, and my dad ended up running a cafe, buying property next door, and owning his own home outright. He worked his butt off, worked 2 full-time jobs, as I mentioned many times, when I was growing up, so that he could have a stay-at-home wife. We could enjoy a mom who was at home until we were in middle school. And this is 2 full-time jobs as a janitor, for crying out loud. This is what's supposed to happen. This is America. There's nothing special about it. Just work hard. Hard work wins. You get out of life what you put into it, my dad always told my brothers and me. And you can't control the outcome, he used to tell us, but you can control the effort. You are 100% in control of the effort. That's all I did. Anyway, Josh, thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it. Now, 3-week quick start relief factor is only $19.95. That is less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, we're talking about, less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day for you to stay out of pain. Over 70% of those who order the 3-week quick start go on to order more. The doctors who designed it believe our bodies were designed to heal, and that's why they selected the 4 best ingredients to deal with pain from a different metabolic pathway. By pain, I'm talking about back, shoulder, neck, hip, foot, knee pain from exercise, or just working hard. That sounds like you. Go to relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com, or call 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.
Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
Because the left is trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out, again, who's going to comply. Are you going to comply? Who's going to resist? Are you going to be willing to resist? How much power and coercion, this is what the left is trying to figure out, will it take to break the rest of us, the nonconformists? And who are the reliable, useful idiots? And sadly, there's plenty of those in the media. I've been telling you time and time again, we can't trust our institutions, the media being one of them. If you want to know what the left is thinking, you can look at the New York Times. You can figure out the angles they're coming from. There's other places, Vox, Slate, so on, etc. You can figure out, and you should know where they're coming from. Quite frankly, Washington Post is another one. Huffington Post is another one, and you can figure out where the left is coming from.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
To hear the White House press secretary blame Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott and other Republican governors for playing politics by trying to preserve jobs, not let people get fired over the vaccine mandate. What's the political gain for a governor to stand up to a tyrannical machine and say, you're not going to fire people because they don't want to put a medicine in their arm? You can't try to draw that line in the sand and say, well, the government shouldn't do it, but businesses can. We're either going to fire people over a personal medical decision or we're not. You're splitting hairs when you say, well, now the government, Gary Kelly flat out said, we don't want to do this at Southwest Airlines. He knows that this is a work stoppage. What's happened in Southwest, it isn't weather. They're not having any computer glitches. They got people working who aren't going to show up, and they're going to try to send Southwest a message. And Gary Kelly, the CEO of Southwest, admitted it by saying, we don't want this. Biden's making us do it. The government's making us do it. These zealots in charge, the kind of tyrannical governors we saw putting lines into Home Depot, and you can go to the garden section, but you can't go to the towel section, and all this crap. Put a mask on to walk to your table and take the mask off when you sit at the table. Like you can't spread COVID at the table, but you can when you're walking to the men's room. Are you kidding me? Would you stop it? And worst of all, forcing people to take a vaccine or get
Okay, Larry, I tell you what, this country is going to hell fast if somebody don't do something. Out there in California, where you tried to get in and should have gotten it, that guy out there, the governor, his aunt is Nancy Pelosi. So he's running the West Coast, and now Nancy, going under a Republican governor in Florida, has bought a $25 million mansion in Florida. Now, he's Republican, and you got Democrat on the West, and I think Nancy Pelosi is going to try to sew it up so that she can turn Florida into a Democrat.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. I've got friends in Florida, and several of them contacted me and said, Nancy Pelosi's bought a really expensive house here in Florida. And I checked it out, and it turns out there are a lot of reports that this is simply not true. It's a internet rumor, and it certainly sounds like something that these phony Democrats would do, but apparently it is not true. Now, I could be wrong about that, but what I have heard is that there were lots of speculation that Nancy Pelosi had bought a, whatever it was, $25 million home in Florida. And that, of course, represented hypocrisy because Florida has handled the coronavirus altogether differently. It's run by a Republican, and, of course, Democrats hate Florida, therefore. But no, she apparently did not do that. But if you know otherwise, let me know. Now, you know I fully support the incredible work Job Creators Network does fighting for small business owners. Well, they've just turned up the heat even more. Despite 2 federal court rulings ordering a stay of Biden's illegal and unconstitutional vaccine mandate, the administration is plowing forward as if those rulings never even occurred. They're demanding that small businesses move forward with forcing their employees to be vaccinated or face loss of job. Job Creators Network President Alfredo Ortiz says it's time to stop White House's bullying of American businesses. So JCN has filed notice with the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals of Biden's inappropriate pressure, asking that court for a final resolution of the stay on vaccine mandates. JCN is demanding that the president cease and desist pressuring small businesses to comply with his illegal vaccine mandate. So we all need to stand up for small businesses right now. Join with Job Creators Network to help small business owners fight this illegal mandate. Go to blockthemandate.com. That's blockthemandate.com. You were talking about Waukesha. Josh from Wisconsin said that his Thanksgiving was, of course, hampered by this, troubled by this, marred by this. Check this out. Talk about hypocrisy. In an Associated Press article about this attack, here's what the article said. Child is sixth death in Waukesha parade crash. Suspect charged. Parade crash. Now, the AP referred to the 2017 Charlottesville occurrence as a car attack, using the title, Woman Recalls Total Terror of Charlottesville Car Attack. AP calls Waukesha a parade crash, called Charlottesville in 2017 a car attack. And not just the Associated Press. CBS News last week called Waukesha, quote, deadly Christmas parade crash. In an article referring to Charlottesville, CBS wrote, quote, man gets life plus 419 years in deadly Charlottesville car attack. End of quote. Sky News, Wednesday, had an article called, quote, Waukesha parade crash. Suspect in court charged. Sky News about Charlottesville, quote, Charlottesville car attack. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I am not kidding you. This is the kind of crap that we put up with our mainstream media over and over and over again. Now, I mentioned that Biden referred to Trump as xenophobic, accused him of racism when he banned travel to several African countries. Biden does it, not a problem.
This is no time for Donald Trump's record of hysterical xenophobia, and fear-mongering.
Now today, the South African president says the ban is completely unjustified and discriminatory.
We call upon these countries that have imposed travel bans on our country and our other Southern African sister countries to immediately and urgently reverse their decisions. Now, these restrictions are completely unjustified and unfairly discriminate against our country and our Southern African sister countries.
Dr. Scott Atlas of the Stanford Institute says the same thing.
We don't know much about this variant. You mentioned what we know. What we've heard from South Africa is that it's not very lethal. We don't know. I only know what I read about this, and what we hear from them. Yes, infections occur, but it seems to be a mild illness. And we have to be concerned. We have to see what's going on. We have to watch the evidence. But to incite panic, to introduce policies that failed over and over and over again, like we never saw this fail before. I mean, the lockdowns do not eradicate the virus. This is almost, it's bizarre that we even have to say this, but there's some kind of bizarre myth among the governors of the world that somehow we can eradicate the virus by the lockdowns. The virus is not going to be eradicated like that. The virus will likely become endemic, and the way it does that, according to all first-year medical student knowledge, is that these viruses mutate, the mutants survive, and they're generally less lethal. Let's hope that's the case with this.
That's right.
Dr. Scott Atlas of Stanford. Now, 3-week quick start, $19.95. Less than $1 a day to find out whether or not it works for you, as it does for over 70% of people that order the 3-week quick start. And the doctors who designed Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, each of which are 100% drug-free, to help your body deal with inflammation. That's right, each of the 4 ingredients deals with inflammation from a different metabolic pathway. So if you've got back, shoulder, neck, foot, knee pain from exercise or just getting older, consider ordering the 3-week Quick Start. Give your body what it needs to heal itself. The doctors who designed it believe that our bodies are designed to heal, and that's why they selected those 4 best ingredients. ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com. 1-800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Mark Milley admitted yesterday that for that pathetic pseudo-journalist Bob Woodward, for his new blockbuster dishing book of scandal, Mark Milley gave him hours of interviews. Hours? Sorry. How busy should the chairman of the Joint Chiefs be? Just curious. Is the Taliban is ready to take back Afghanistan? These are interviews he gave this stinking year. This year. Is the Taliban is rising? Is China is building its military? Is Iran is threatening us? Is Russia is being ever more militaristic? You're sitting down for hours with an avowed, rabid Democrat, quote-unquote, journalist to give inside scoops on how you stood up to President Trump by undermining the chain of command that you, by the Constitution, are not a part of? What the hell are you doing? Maybe those hours could have been spent, reading the Long War Journal by our friend Bill Roggio, where he predicted in March that the Taliban would be in control and Kabul would fall. Maybe you would better spend your time reading books like Cynical Theories, reading the works of Chris Rufo about what critical race theory really is and why it's racism and bigotry. But oh no.
Hey, Larry, I was just wondering, how do we spread the word and educate other people without being, offensive? I'm just dumbfounded. I listen to your show and hear all this information that you're putting out that's going on, and I'm just dumbfounded as to how people don't understand what's really going on. Anyway, love you. Keep doing what you're doing.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. I don't know how you do it without being offensive. Maybe that's a problem. People are afraid to offend. I mean, these are just facts. It is a fact that crime is going up. It is a fact that the police are pulling back. It is a fact that inflation is higher than it's been in decades. It is a fact that minimum wage hikes destroy jobs for people who are unskilled. These are facts. By the way, in Florida, they are proposing a sub-minimum wage. Republicans are. So that if you are, for example, a teenager and an employer doesn't believe that you're worth $15, he or she can pay you $12 or $13. Right now, that would be illegal. Meanwhile, out here in California, a owner of a cafe says that she just hiked the entry-level salary to $16.50 and can't get anybody. Says people are calling and making an appointment and they don't show up. And my point is the market ought to set the rate, not some third party. Often third parties that never even ran a hot dog stand. It's offensive to me. You're a bureaucrat. You're sitting in your state capital, wherever it might be, Tallahassee or Sacramento in my case, Albany in the case of New York, and you decide that, it's just be a good thing if the minimum wage was X. What business is it of yours a transaction between a willing seller of labor and a willing purchaser of that labor for you as a third party to set the price? What business is it of yours? What business is it of governments? The marketplace should set the price. And when I was running for governor, someone said, well, Larry wants people to work for free. I said, have you seen the help wanted signs in this state? Who the bleep is going to work for free? That's just asinine. Have you ever run a business? Have you ever run a hot dog stand? I'll take a lemonade stand, I said. Something. I talked to one reporter and I said, name your favorite economist. She went blank. I said, you can't think of a single economist? She said, well, the economist that taught me my economics course in college. I said, what's his or her name? She didn't know. I said, you can't think of a single economist? She admitted she couldn't. I said, you don't know who Milton Friedman is? No. You don't know who Adam Smith is? No. Don't know who Paul Krugman is? No. And here she is criticizing what I said about minimum wage. It is maddening. So how do you say that without offending somebody? I don't know. You tell me. I just tell the truth. Let the chips fall where they may. I'm Larry Elder. Don't leave town.
Larry Elder, all true.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
It's like a ripple throughout society. We've got Dr. Fauci hectoring everybody who's had COVID who didn't get a vaccination, even though they have immunity. But I'm talking about not the people who refuse to be vaxxed, but the people who've had it and yet we have 2 million people scheduled to come across the border in the fiscal year, and he's absolutely silent about it.
That's right.
He can't even utter the word.
Well, it's like the silence of the unmasked demonstrators. The medical profession said that's fine because it's
all 1,200 of them. I remember that well.
That's right.
And it's so what we're doing is we're creating not just exemptions for illegal aliens, but we're elevating them in some sense. We're not asking them to follow the law. We're not asking.
Right. So I want to know the original sin here. Is the original sin Ted Kennedy? Is the original sin the inability of the World War II generation to pass on American values? What's the original sin?
I think it's two things. It was the affluence and the leisure created by the 6%, just enormous affluence that was created, 6% a year GDP in the 50s and 60s, and we created the most leisured and affluent society, and it created certain expectations about human nature that create a guy like Ted Kennedy and create his idea that we're so wealthy, we're so powerful, we're so liberal, we're so wonderful that we're going to extend this and feel so good about ourselves and start deliberately having a policy where we don't apply the old rules of assimilation, integration, or border enforcement.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
Because the left is trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out, again, who's going to comply. Are you going to comply? Who's going to resist? Are you going to be willing to resist? How much power and coercion, this is what the left is trying to figure out, will it take to break the rest of us, the nonconformists? And who are the reliable, useful idiots? And sadly, there's plenty of those in the media. I've been telling you time and time again, we can't trust our institutions, the media being one of them. If you want to know what the left is thinking, you can look at the New York Times. You can figure out the angles they're coming from. There's other places, Vox, Slate, so on, etc. You can figure out, and you should know where they're coming from. Quite frankly, Washington Post is another one. Huffington Post is another one, and you can figure out where the left is coming from.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
To hear the White House press secretary blame Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott and other Republican governors for playing politics by trying to preserve jobs not let people get fired over the vaccine mandate? What's the political gain for a governor to stand up to a tyrannical machine and say, you're not going to fire people because they don't want to put a medicine in their arm? You can't try to draw that line in the sand and say, well, the government shouldn't do it, but businesses can. We're either going to fire people over a personal medical decision or we're not. You're splitting hairs when you say, well, now the government, Gary Kelly flat out said, we don't want to do this at Southwest Airlines. He knows that this is a work stoppage. What's happening at Southwest? It isn't weather. They're not having any computer glitches. They got people working who aren't going to show up, and they're going to try to send Southwest a message. And Gary Kelly, the CEO of Southwest, admitted it by saying, we don't want this. Biden's making us do it. The government's making us do it. These zealots in charge, the kind of tyrannical governors we saw putting lines in Home Depot, and you can go to the garden section, but you can't go to the towel section, and all this crap. Put a mask on to walk to your table and take the mask off when you sit at the table. Like you can't spread COVID at the table, but you can when you're walking to the men's room. Are you kidding me? Would you stop it? And worst of all, forcing people to take a vaccine or get fired.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
The image of Superman in a homosexual kiss. Because DC Comics, I guess they don't want to sell comics. And now the new Superman, the son of Kal-El, is going to come out as gay, or as Jeff pointed out, I guess he's bi, right? Whatever, who cares? But here's the bottom line. This is beautiful. I hope Media Matters is writing this one up. Hey, Zachy Poo, are you typing? How many homosexuals, how many gay people are there in society? 1%, 1.5%. Let's be generous. Let's double it. 3%! 3% of America are gay. And the gay people I know, they don't rub it in your face. It's just a thing they do. It's private. It's not an agenda they gotta ram in your face. Say, look, this is me. It's the radical fraction of that 2%. The loud screamers. The identity politics harridans. So why are you trying to placate a fraction of 2%? It's dumb business sense, really. Means you're weak. It's not courageous to have a gay Superman. It's the opposite. You're a panderer. R.I.P. Commander Bond. R.I.P. Kal-El. Rest in peace, Superman.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
888 971 7243, 888 971 SAGE. I am Larry Elder. Next hour, we're going to be talking to John Lott about the poll numbers showing a falling support for further gun control legislation. I wonder whether there's a connection between the rise in crime, the attack against police officers, this ridiculous defund the police movement, and falling support for additional gun control measures. Also, reportedly, the Biden administration is discussing what some are calling the nuclear option. Deep sixing Kamala Harris for somebody else. Are you kidding me? It will never, ever happen, and I'll tell you why. She was chosen because she checked the boxes. The boxes are, she's a female and a person of color who identifies as black. The only way they could get rid of her is to swap her with somebody else who is a female and a person of color who identifies as black. How many are there? Michelle Obama, she doesn't want the job. Oprah Winfrey, she doesn't want the job. Susan Rice, are you kidding me? Obama's former national security advisor who went on those 5 shows and lied about Benghazi, and that's why Obama did not put her forth for Secretary of State. Forget about it. Who else you got? Stacey Abrams. The reason Stacey Abrams is a no-go is because she still insists that her gubernatorial race in Georgia was stolen from her. And that is problematic because that robs the Democrats of one of their favorite narratives against Donald Trump. He feels the 2020 election was stolen. He feels that it was robbed. He feels that it was They can't use that against him if he's running against Stacey Abrams. So, no, she can't. Are you kidding? So now you're down to Winsome Sears and Condi Rice, both of whom are Republican females of color who identify as blacks, and that's a no-go. So they're stuck with her. Completely stuck with her. I'll talk about that later on. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Now, a few things. The governor of California felt unleashed after he survived the recall election. I knew he would. Signed a bunch of bills restricting what are called sentencing enhancement for a bunch of crimes. Here's an article from the LA Times. Governor Gavin Newsom signed laws aimed at reducing prison sentences for people convicted of drug and gang-related crimes, despite concerns from prosecutors, and I would add also law enforcement officials, that the measures will hinder their effort to protect Californians. End of quote. Talks about one of them that was pushed by a state senator, Democrat, of course, from Berkeley. Need I say more? Would have judges dismiss enhancement in certain cases, including when they would result in discriminatory racial impact. I'm just pausing because I don't know what to say. Discriminatory racial impact. Here's what State Senator Nancy Skinner from Berkeley says, quote, if sentence enhancements were applied fairly, this wouldn't be an issue. However, data shows that in California, you are much more likely to receive a sentence enhancement if you are black. End of quote. Senator Skinner, I bet you the data also shows in California, you're much more likely to be a gang member if you were black than if you're white. These are the people who are sitting there in Sacramento. I wonder where she lives. The California State Sheriff's Association opposed it. California District Association opposed it. Here's another one. State Senator Sidney Kamlager. I'm not sure how to pronounce Sidney's name. Kamlager. Female. Sidney, female, says her measure aims to reduce the list of crimes allowing gang enhancements to be charged. Quote, quoting the LA Times now. The senator said that current gang enhancement have weak definitions and 92% of the people with gang enhancement in the state are people of color, close quote. What percentage of gang members are people of color, Senator? Most of them are Hispanic and black. There's some Asian, but only a small percentage of them are white. And that might explain why the people that have gang enhancements applied to them typically are people of color. In other words, white people start committing more crime. Get off your butts and start committing more crime. Increase the muggings. Increase the shootings. Increase your drive-bys. So we can now apply these crime enhancements fairly. For crying out loud. Don't you see what you're doing by not committing enough crime? I don't know what to say. Camlogger, thank you. Nancy Camlogger. Hey, well, you know, at least he survived the recall and people in California are not governed by a Republican takeover. Sure, crime's going up. Sure, former Senator Barbara Boxer got mugged in Oakland. Her cell phone was taken. Sure, Governor Gavin Newsom was attacked by a mentally ill homeless guy. Sure. And yes, shootings and murders are up 40% in LA, but hey, the state has not been taken over by a dastardly Republican who voted for Donald Trump. So we got that going for us. Looting's up. I posted on Twitter. This is not very far from where I live. A few blocks from where I live. People eating outdoors. A couple people wearing masks. Having guns. Just relieved 2 outdoor diners of their jewelry. But you know, I was thinking about what a Black Lives Matter activist in Chicago said about stealing. Listen to what she said.
I don't care if somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that that person eats. That makes sure that that person has clothes. That's reparations. That is reparations.
So a Gucci or a Nike, that's a form of reparations? Gucci? Because that means that person has food? Gucci? What, you eat out of a Gucci bag, put the food in the Gucci? I mean, it's like milk or eggs. It's kind of very similar.
I don't care if somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that that person eats. That makes sure that that person has clothes. That's reparations. That is reparations. Anything they want to take it, because these businesses have insurance. They're going to get their money back. My people aren't getting anything.
Wow. Last week we talked about a study that a former New York Times reporter did, investigation rather, about the looting and the rioting in Kenosha. And she found out that the stores that were hit primarily didn't have insurance. They were low-end stores. And she said that the New York Times did not publish her story until after the election. It didn't fit the script. I don't care, because these stores, well, they have insurance. No, they don't. Many of them don't. It's a form of reparations. Sickening. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
But the issue that is animating conservatives, animating moderates in a way that is unexpected, that is moving people in massive numbers in the state of Virginia and nationally is education. It's the number one issue. 77% of conservatives say that curriculum and education is a major issue. 51% of liberals say that it's a major issue. You go through the polling in Virginia. How much of a factor is each of these choices for your choice of governor? Abortion policy is 58% major factor, but curriculum on race and history, 62%. Now, the number one issue is Virginia's economy still, but getting up there is crime and safety in Virginia. These are pretty good numbers, I have to say, for a Republican, meaning like these are issues that Republicans usually do very well with. And now we're in this circumstance where Democrats, people on the left, on television are no longer able to hide. They are trying to change the baseline of what is the new normal. The Great Reset, if you will. They are trying to propagandize you and gaslight you into saying, well, of course, parents don't have any say over their kids' education. They never used to say this. They used to hide it. They used to disguise it. They used to camouflage it. Now they're outright saying it. Virginia gubernatorial candidate Terry McAuliffe has come out and he said in his debate with Youngkin, quote, I don't think parents should be telling schools what they should teach. He thought this was going to be like a big kind of rallying moment. Like,
keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
And then on CNN, Cut 43, they have come out and they've said, look, let's be very clear. We need to start trusting our teachers more. Enough of this kind of parent involvement thing. We're in charge. The state's in charge. Cut 43.
Of too many people who know little or nothing about education trying to tell professionals who are in this industry who've been working hard. We're coming in as weekend warriors trying to tell them about what education should look like. We need to put a little bit more trust in our educators because they've actually spent the time and energy necessary to really understand some of the nuances that are being kind of just blown over here in this conversation.
The nuances blown over. You hear that? Some 25-year-old University of Maryland educated Marxist knows about the nuances of your child better than you. I mean, come on, you got to trust the experts, everybody. And this really does show the divide as we dedicate this hour to what's going on with education in our country, which is the most important issue outside of immigration, election integrity. All those things are important. But I think everyone agrees that if we do not get education on a better path, the country is done. A majority of people in my generation thinks America's a terrible country. That is not sustainable. And this really kind of goes to the divide in the country, which is, do we trust a group of unelected, unknown experts to be in charge of important things, or do we
Hey Larry, it's Bill out in San Bernardino. I understand that Joseph Biden is making 8 different countries in Africa no planes, no buddy coming from there, not allowed to come to the United States. That's awfully a racist move, isn't it? Well, we know he's a racist, but now everybody knows he's a racist.
No, I'm just getting warmed up. We call upon these countries that have imposed travel bans on our country and our other Southern African sister countries to immediately and urgently reverse their decisions. Now, these restrictions are completely unjustified and unfairly discriminate against our country and our Southern African sister countries.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Quick, what does LeBron James think? Now, I hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. And Christmas is now 27 days away. So today, this is the final few weeks of my annual campaign to help boys and girls who have a mom or a dad in prison still experience the joy of Christmas and the love of Christ through the nonprofit Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree campaign. Throughout the year, you often call and say, what can you do to help? What can you do to improve things? Here's one of them. Every Christmas, with the generous help from listeners just like you, Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree delivers gifts and the gospel to hundreds of thousands of kids all across the country on behalf of their incarcerated parents. And you can make a difference, an eternal difference, in the lives of these kids when you support Angel Tree. Just go to my website, LarryElder.com, and click on the Angel Tree banner. The cost to help reach just one child with Angel Tree is only $25. $125 will help reach 5 kids. You don't think so? Listen to Cassidy, whose dad is in prison. She knows from personal experience how Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree volunteers make Christmas special. Listen to this.
If you're thinking about donating to Angel Tree, it's a really good thing to do to contribute to us kids because it'll make us feel special and make us feel like we're important in life, and it'll make us feel loved, you know, and everyone wants to feel loved. Thank you, Angel Tree, for helping me connect with my dad. Makes me feel important.
Now that's what it's all about. Your gifts can make it happen. Your gifts can make a huge, huge difference. Let's make this Christmas the best holiday ever for as many kids as possible. Please call my special donation number. It is 888-206-2763. That's 888-206-2763. Or go to my website, LarryElder.com. Click on the Angel Tree banner at the very top. 888-206-2763, 888-206-2763, or LarryElder.com, Angel Tree banner at the very top. Thank you so very much. Richard is in Walnut Creek, California. Richard, you're on the Larry Elder Show. Thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, hi, Larry. Let me tell you, first of all, I got a lot of respect for you because most talk show hosts just talk. You stepped it up a notch and tried to take on Gruesome Newsome, so thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, my question is, Kyle Rittenhouse can sue all these newspapers and CNN and MSNBC and all them for defamation.
Right.
My question to you is, if it can be proved that this Brooks guy was running over people and killing them out of revenge from what the media told him about the Rittenhouse case, which was a lie, can the families of the victims sue the media? Because I'd sure like to see them get a lot of money.
You know, I don't see any reason why they couldn't. I think it'll be a harder case to prove, but I don't see any reason why they couldn't. After all, the media put out this lie that Rittenhouse is a white supremacist. And if it can be proven that the motive behind Darrell Brooks's attack is the assumption that Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist and a bunch of people were killed and or injured as a result of it, it seems to me that there could be a civil lawsuit against members of the media. You got to prove that that was his motive. You have to prove that he was motivated by what the media said about Kyle Rittenhouse, as opposed to just Kyle Rittenhouse's not guilty plea. But it seems to me that a lawyer could very well make an argument that there's a connection there. And all you have to do is prove it by 50% plus one. So, Richard, I don't think it's a very unreasonable lawsuit at all. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I mentioned this Black Lives Matter activist. Let me play that again.
I don't care if somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that that person eats. That makes sure that that person has clothes. That's reparations. That is reparations. Anything they want to take it, because these businesses have insurance. They're going to get their money back. My people aren't getting anything.
Now, a former New York Times reporter named Nellie Bowles, Bowles, was given an assignment to explore the impact of the riots that took place in Kenosha. Here's what she said, and I'm quoting her. When I was at the New York Times, I went to Kenosha to see about this, and it turned out to be not true. The part of Kenosha that people burned in the riots was the poor, multiracial commercial district full of small, underinsured cell phone shops and car lots. It was very sad to see and hear from people who had suffered. Beyond the financial loss, small storefronts are quite meaningful to their owners and community. And then she said, and I'm quoting, something odd happened with the story after I filed it. It didn't run. It sat and sat. After a few weeks after I filed it, an editor told me the Times wouldn't be able to run my Kenosha insurance debacle piece until after the 2020 election. So sorry, close quote. Bowles said the Times gave her a bunch of reasons, including space, timing, tweaks here or there. Eventually, however, the story was published after Joe Biden got elected. Fox News contacted the New York Times for a reaction, and the person who edited her piece did not immediately respond to the inquiry on the part of Fox News. Can you believe this? Can you believe this? 35 small businesses were destroyed. Around 80 were damaged, according to the city's business association. And she wrote in the piece, quote, almost all are locally owned and many are underinsured or struggling to manage, end of quote. So this Black Lives Matter activist who claims these businesses are insured, A, it's wrong. Even if they were, that justifies it. Your premiums go up. Prices go up. It's not without consequences, you know. This is just brain dead. And the New York Times didn't publish the story until after the election. Pourquoi? They wanted Joe Biden to win. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
Southwest was devastated this week, straight up lying, talking about it was the weather. The reason why 2,000 flights were canceled over the weekend, Friday through Sunday, and then over 300 or nearly 400 more on Monday. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of these people just called out sick. They just called out sick. They've been threatened by their employer because their employer happens to be a federal contractor. And because of that, because the federal government has their hands in Southwest Airlines, they have to comply. Now, here's the news. Nothing has happened as of yet. So technically, Southwest Airlines does not have to comply right now. They can wait for OSHA to make whatever edict they're going to lay out that has not been done thus far. But nonetheless, they suspect that it is coming down the pike. You get all these pilots, 10,000 pilots, 60 to 70% of these pilots are men and women that fought for our freedom, and we're going to kick them off the freaking job. Can you imagine the disruption? You talk about, we look at the ports in California. Can you imagine the supply chain disruption if now we can't even unload cargo ships and we're going to have fewer and fewer pilots? Fewer trained pilots? I don't want to fly. I don't know if they're going to be like United Airlines and bring social justice warrior pilots on. I don't even want to fly. Listen, if you're a pilot, I don't care if you're pink, red, white. I want the best doggone pilot when I'm sitting up in that can 30,000 feet above the ground.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Boy, the state of Florida just fined Leon County $3.5 million because they fired 14 employees.
Coercion is just totally wrong. I think it's destroying trust in public health to the extent that there was still trust left over after all the stuff that's been done. But I think it's really, really negative, and I think you're going to end up driving people away.
You know, Governor DeSantis makes a great observation about the way the mandate is driving people in the other direction. And that's why companies have got to stop the mandates. This just has to stop. This isn't working. You cannot fire people over a vaccine.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
He is America. Captain America's trying, but nah, not so much. It's Superman. That's why kids have loved him. Adults have loved. When I saw Superman, I was, 8 years old, and I saw Christopher Reeve. You believed a man could fly. And I wanted to be an American, and now I am. But they've killed it. They killed James Bond in the new movie. Sorry, guys, spoilers. I've seen it. It's crap. Don't waste your time. They killed James Bond. Dead. Gone.
Larry, your boy Peter G up in Maine here. Hey, why don't we actually see the fact that there is systemic racism, but we got to point out what it actually is? Who is in control of the systems? The academies, the Hollywood, the this, the that, the this, both houses of Congress, blah, 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 you name it. It's all Democrats. Who's the teachers' unions, who's this, who's that, where the kids can't do math or read or write at grade level, all of this stuff. It's all Democrats. So we can agree that there's systemic racism, but we disagree about whose fault it is. If we can start, showing people that, sure, I'll cede systemic racism if you'll cede who's responsible for it, I don't know, maybe that's one way we can kind of move forward. Anyway, I love you, buddy. Keep up the good work.
Remember what comedian Wanda Sykes said after Obama got elected? How you going to complain about the man when you are the man? 888-971. That's AGE 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Kamala Harris supposedly is on thin ice in the Biden administration. Her approval ratings are 10 points lower than his. And I suspect it would be absolutely impossible to get rid of her. The most loyal constituency for the Democratic Party are black females. They've been trained, of course, to believe that they are bedeviled by systemic racism. And if Biden tried to deep six her for somebody else who was anything other than a black female, he'd be accused of systemic racism. And the bench for black females is really thin. And so they are stuck with her. We'll talk about that later on. Now, all of you out there know that MyPillow doesn't have their box stores. They don't have shopping channels. And they've been canceled. Stores like Bed Bath & Beyond refused to carry Mike Lindell's products because he dared to suggest that there was something wrong with the 2020 election, something Hillary's been saying for a long time and Stacey Abrams has been saying for a long time, but I guess they don't have pillow companies, do they? Well, Mike is going to pass along the savings for not having box stores, not having these expensive shopping channels to you. You can get the lowest price in history for MyPillow, for their classic standard MyPillow, regularly $69.98, now $19.98. Queen size, regularly $79.98, now $24.98. Or king size, regularly $89.98, now only $29.98. By the way, Mr. McConnell, isn't there sexism here? The queen size is cheaper than the king size? I thought they charged the women more, and the king is being charged more because he's king. There should be mattress equality, absolutely, or at least mattress equity. Now, MyPillow's not just pillows. They've got over 150 products, everything from sleepwear to my new beds. Promo code also works on mystore.com and frankspeech.com. So go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-890-1843 and be sure and use promo code Larry to take advantage of Mike's special offer on his standard MyPillow. That's mypillow.com, promo code Larry, or 1-800-890-1843. That's 1-800-890-1843. Now, a Sacramento cafe owner says she jacked up her minimum wage 30% to $16.50. Keep in mind, the Democrats want there to be a national minimum wage of $15. So here in Sacramento, California, cafe owner says, I've jacked my minimum wage up to $16.50. That's 30% higher than it was pre-pandemic. That's higher than the California minimum wage. And she says she's never seen so many potential employees schedule interviews and either not show up or tell you they're going to show up and you never hear from them again. Other business owners have said as many as 90% of candidates don't turn up for job interviews and that many quit soon after being hired. One restaurant owner said he was, quote, basically hiring anybody who would show up, close quote. A CEO of solar panel company said he scheduled interviews with 8 candidates for a job as an electrician. Only 2 showed up. Meanwhile, lawmakers in Florida are considering a sub-minimum wage so that potentially you could offer somebody as little as $4.25. Why? The lawmaker, Republican of course, says that there are people who are not being hired because a lot of employers do not feel that these people are worth $15 an hour. Maybe 12, maybe 10, maybe 8, but not 15. Now, if somebody doesn't want to work for $4.25, and the law would potentially allow you to pay somebody as little as that amount, what difference does it make if nobody shows up willing to work for $4.25? What's the point? The point is the market should set the price. Maybe you work, maybe you live in a state, low-cost state, maybe you live in a high-cost state. Either way, the marketplace should set the price. And as Tom Sowell and others have pointed out, it wasn't until the minimum wage substantially increased beyond inflation that all of a sudden there was this employment gap between black teenagers and white teenagers. There was never a gap like that before. Now, 3-week quick start, only $19.95. That is less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day for you to stay out of pain. Over 70% of those who order the 3-week quick start go on to order more. If you've got back, shoulder, neck, foot, knee pain from exercise or just trying to find an employee, consider the 3-week quick start. ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com, 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
It's like a ripple throughout society. We've got Dr. Fauci hectoring everybody who's had COVID who didn't get a vaccination, even though they have immunity. But I'm talking about not the people who refuse to be vaccinated, but the people who've had it and yet we have 2 million people scheduled to come across the border in the fiscal year, and he's absolutely silent about it.
That's right.
He can't even utter the word.
Well, it's like the silence of the unmasked demonstrators. And the medical profession said that's fine because it's
all 1,200 of them. I remember that well.
That's right.
And it's so what we're doing is we're creating not just exemptions for illegal aliens, but we're elevating them in some sense. We're not asking them to follow the law. We're not asking
Right.
them to
So
get
I want to know the
vaccinated.
original sin here. Is the original sin Ted Kennedy? Is the original sin the inability of the World War II generation to pass on American values? What's the original sin?
I think it's two things. It was the affluence and the leisure created by the 6%, just enormous affluence that was created, 6% a year GDP in the 50s and 60s, and we created the most leisured and affluent society, and it created certain expectations about human nature that create a guy like Ted Kennedy and create his idea that we're so wealthy, we're so powerful, we're so liberal, we're so wonderful that we're going to extend this and feel so good about ourselves and start deliberately having a policy where we don't apply the old rules of assimilation, integration, or border enforcement.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Because the left is trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out, again, who's going to comply. Are you going to comply? Who's going to resist? Are you going to be willing to resist? How much power and coercion, this is what the left is trying to figure out, will it take to break the rest of us, the nonconformists? And who are the reliable, useful idiots? And sadly, there's plenty of those in the media. I've been telling you time and time again, we can't trust our institutions, the media being one of them. If you want to know what the left is thinking, you can look at
I relate to you and your dad quite a bit, especially your dad. He was made up his mind. It was it, and I'm kind of like that. They call it personality disorder. We don't see white or black. It's just either white or black. We do nothing in between. But you came to our church, Destiny Church, and the ladies were just flabbergasted about the story of your dad. In fact, Destiny Church in Roseville, I'm the one that says, "Love you, Larry," at the end when you walked off and you turned your head. Again, love you, and I'm listening to your show. I missed some parts of it, especially about your dad having the gun in there. But, yeah, I enjoy your show. I enjoy you.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. That is so sweet. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I met so many amazing people when I was running for office. It is an experience that I would not trade, and I did not regret 1 minute of it. I'm often asked that because of the way I was treated by the media. I knew that was going to happen. You know, the closer to the truth, the closer to the nerve. And I know that I'm an effective person and that I generate all sorts of reactions, including, especially from people that are what I call victocrats, who believe that the forces of evil are conspiring to hold them down, despite the fact that we live in the most free, most prosperous country that's ever been conceived, which is why so many of the world's 7 billion population would love to be here if they could. Now, we at Salem are ready to launch something really big, and I want you to be a part of it. If you enjoy listening to my show, you're going to love watching it also on salemnewschannel.com or the app with the same name. Just load it on the Apple Store or the Android Store, or watch us on Roku. Just type Salem News Channel into the search bar and check us out. We are the antidote to the mainstream media. Soon, we're going to be adding new TV-only hours. This is only going to get bigger and better. Thank you for all you're doing to make this thing successful. We are on a mission, and you are a huge, huge part of it. Later on, we're going to be talking with John Lott about the decline in the number of people who want gun control. I suspect it has a lot to do with the rise of crime And the fact that the police are demoralized to the point now where there are fewer stops now, fewer arrests now. Cities like Chicago, more homicides in the year since 1996. Philadelphia, record homicides. Cities like St. Louis and Baltimore have a per capita homicide rate 3 times higher than Chicago. Chicago has the highest number of homicides in absolute numbers, but not even close in terms of the rate at which people are murdered. 3 times higher rate in Baltimore and in St. Louis. St. Louis, by the way, is the per capita crime city, large crime city of the country, and Baltimore just a little bit behind it. By the way, there's a new study, Harvard, so therefore you know it must be accurate, by a professor named Claudia Golden, teaches econ at Harvard, and has written a book called Career and Family. And she says that the so-called pay gap between men and women is not because of discrimination. It's not because of gender bias. It's not because of glass ceiling. It's because jobs that require you to be at the beck and call of your employer, they pay more. More extensive travel, more unpredictable travel, longer hours, demanding client times. And these jobs are the ones that are high paying. And she says when men and women enter jobs like that, they have equal pay trajectories until babies come along. And then the women step back. Duh! How much money did she spend on this study? How many years have Tom Sowell been saying the same thing?
I would like to, for a moment, ask you some questions about the economics of job getting in terms of the blacks versus the whites. The statistics I was able to pull together indicate that at the present time, white males make $17,427 on an average basis for the year. Black males make $12,738. White females make $10,244. Black females make $9,476. It is clear from these figures, as indeed I think it's clear to most of us from what we see, that there is a discrimination against blacks and against women in our present system. Since not all blacks will be superior, how would you try to even that out so that there would be some equality of job opportunities?
Yeah, I'm sorry you missed the earlier part of the program when I pointed out that where you find people not represented evenly, that does not show the institutional effect, because almost nowhere in human affairs do you find people evenly represented. If you compare comparable people with respect to age, with respect to education, etc., you get a totally different picture, both with respect to blacks and women. Now, the figures that I saw, for example, show more recently that if you take black families where the husband and wife are both college educated and compare them to a white family where the husband and wife are both college educated, the black family is now earning $2,000 a year more. The problem is that very few blacks fall in that category. That when you compare category for category, then we're talking about getting people a decent education. I'm saying that you cannot say that numbers collected at the employer's place of business reflect simply the employer's policies. Those numbers reflect underlying conditions in the whole society, just as numbers collected at the hospital do not show you that the people are sick because they're in the hospital.
No, I would agree with that, but you would also have to agree that generally speaking, women are paid less, for example, for the same jobs as men.
No, I would not. I would not agree with that. If you're talking about women with the same number of years of experience, with the same continuous service, etc., then when I look at that, I don't find that disparity. I find, for example, in many cases, the women are making more, depending on how you break the data down. The difference with women is between married women and everybody else. That's the real difference.
Well, even as to single women, the Census Bureau statistics, the most recent ones I could find, 1978, say that single men are earning $11,100 and single women are earning $9,300.
Yes, I love the word single that is used. When I did my study, I didn't use single, I used never married. You see, a woman who is single at age 40, having spent 10 or 20 years raising children, is really not quite the same as a man of age 40 who's been working continuously for 20 years.
And this Harvard study just confirmed everything that he just now said. She called those jobs greedy jobs. like in banking and law, where you're always on call. Well, call in what you want. The point is, when you compare like to like, people that have not taken time out for child rearing, their salaries are the same. It is a lie that there's a pay gap because of sexism or gender discrimination or glass ceiling. It is a lie. 3-week quick start, just $19.95. Less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, we're talking about less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day for you to stay out of pain. So if you've got back, neck, shoulder, hip, foot, knee pain from exercise, or just quarreling with the leftists, consider ordering the 3-week quick start. Only $19.95. 4 ingredients, each of which are 100% drug-free ingredients to deal with pain from a separate metabolic pathway. ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com. 800-500-8384. 800-500-8384.
Called The Shadow of Shaddai, The Image of the God King, and it's by Dr. Scott T. Moore. So thank you for your inspiration. We love what you're doing. Shalom.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Next hour, we'll be speaking with John Lott about the decline in the number of people that support more gun control. Also, we're going to talk about the whispered rumors that the Biden administration is thinking about replacing Kamala Harris as VP because her popularity is even worse than his. And there are many people who speculate that Joe Biden is not going to make it to 2024, even though he says he's going to run again. So the idea is that she is so unpopular, we'll just switch her out with somebody else. Are you kidding me? Having told black people, particularly black females, the most loyal constituency of the Democratic Party, that they are victims of systemic racism, you're going to throw Kamala Harris overboard. The only way they could pull that off is to switch her out with another black female. And the bench is pretty shallow. We'll be talking about that later on. Now, the President of the United States suggested that Kyle Rittenhouse, as you know, is a white supremacist.
What I'm not going to speak to right now is anything about an ongoing trial, nor the president's past comments.
And Peter Ducey asked her about that.
Just something tied to an ongoing court case. Why did President Biden suggest that Kyle Rittenhouse, on trial in Kenosha, is a white supremacist?
So, Peter, what I'm not going to speak to right now is anything about an ongoing trial, nor the president's past comments. What I can reiterate for you is the president's view that we shouldn't have, broadly speaking, vigilantes patrolling our communities with assault weapons. We shouldn't have opportunists corrupting peaceful protests by rioting and burning down the communities they claim to represent anywhere in the country. As you know,
notice she suggests an AR-15 is a, quote, assault weapon.
Closing arguments in this particular case, which I'm not speaking to, I'm just making broad comments about his own view. There's an ongoing trial. We're awaiting a verdict. Beyond that, I'm not going to speak to any individuals or this case.
But the president has spoken to it already. And his mom now, Kyle Rittenhouse's mom, came out saying that the president defamed her son. And that she claims that when the president suggested her son's a white supremacist, he was doing that to win votes. Is that what happened?
I just have nothing more to speak to an ongoing case where the closing arguments were just made. Go ahead.
Gentlemen and women, start your lawsuits. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
So who wins when there is a clash on the left between separate preferred activist groups? Who gets preference? Who wins? Now, on the left, they have a hierarchy. Not any different than a hierarchy that you'd have in any sort of organization. You see, when the left has a moment of disagreement or conflict, it is very important to realize that there is a structure of what matters more than something else.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
That's kind of my shtick. Traveling the country, going to high school and college campuses, talking about how we need to properly educate young people about American history, civics, the development of the character, understanding how parents should have a primary role in their children's education, trying to have young people understand that there is objective truth, educate them about metaphysics, and a transcendent order and meaning. These are things that I've been warning about for years, and I don't want to say that I was ignored. That would not be fair. Conservative base always took it seriously. People considered it to be a top 10 issue.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
I also have a view that the withdrawal of those forces would lead inevitably to the collapse of the Afghan military forces and eventually the Afghan government.
Well, you were right, and it took 11 days for the Taliban to take over Afghanistan. Have you seen some of the images coming out of Afghanistan, by the way? They're real pleasant. Bodies being hung from overpasses, people being executed in the street, an Afghan soldier led out into the street and just shot dead. The Taliban walking around with these giant whips and they're hitting women over the backs. Here's Secretary Austin also contradicting Biden and exposing Joe Biden for the bald-faced lie, the bald-faced lie he told the American people.
It's a simple question, Secretary Austin. He said no senior military leader advised him to leave a small troop presence behind. Is that true or not? Did these officer and General Miller's recommendations get to the president personally?
Their input was received by the president and considered by the president for sure. In terms of what they specifically recommended, Senator, as they just said, they're not going to provide what they recommended in confidence.
What a crap storm. What a crap show. Senator Josh Hawley put it best. Thank goodness for people like Josh Hawley and Marsha Blackburn and Dan Sullivan. The Republicans were certainly on fire yesterday in holding these failed commanders to have some sort of at least a public accountability.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
Women are born ignorant of male sexual nature. It's not their fault. We're so different from women. There's no fault here. But it is the fault of a society that doesn't teach them that. And society always did. But not since the 60s. Because they wanted to believe men and women are basically the same. So I'm curious, are you a religious home?
Yes, we are religious.
Right. So here's my theory. Religious Americans are less naive than secular Americans.
I like that theory. I concur because we speak of evil.
That's right.
And we speak of wrongdoing. Yes.
Exactly right. You're a joy. You're in Fort Worth. I don't blame you. I hope we meet one day. And your husband should give me a couple of cigars. There's no question about that. Isn't it interesting, folks? Do you know who probably the most ignorant women in America are about men? Women who get PhDs in the social sciences. I would say that a woman who got a PhD in gender studies or in sociology or anthropology knows less about men than a high school dropout from a Christian home. And they're the people teaching your kids.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
$85 billion worth of equipment. The entire budget, military budget of Russia for a year is $50 billion. Wow. And we left $85 billion worth of equipment in the hands of the Taliban.
Yeah, what do you make of that, Congressman Gallagher?
Well, I do think it is clear that the Taliban violated the Doha Agreement. When I questioned General McKenzie, the CENTCOM commander, on this very point, and asked him whether the attack on Fox Chapman violated the Doha Agreement, he remarkably and astoundingly to me said no, it did not, which is crazy. I think it was a clear agreement. The other interesting thing that
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. In a few minutes, we'll be speaking with John Lott about the decline in the number of people that support gun control. Pourquoi? You think maybe because of crime is going up? Police are demoralized. Chicago, down 1,000 officers as officers are retiring earlier or quitting. And who wants to join a police force that is, quote, systemically racist, close quote, so it's difficult to get new recruits? Yet another study, this one is a study out of Qatar, examined 353,000 people using national databases. Study was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, was funded by the Weill Cornell Medicine, Qatar's Ministry of Public Health, and they have concluded that people who have recovered from COVID-19 are at little risk of contracting the disease again. Out of all the people, 0.4% of people with natural immunity and without vaccination got COVID a second time. Adding to the growing body of research that indicates people who have recovered from COVID-19 enjoy high levels of immunity against reinfection and even higher protection against severe disease and death, reinforcing what Dr. Scott Atlas from the Hoover Institute think tank has said.
See, we never changed the policy on stopping this fanatic wiping of surfaces. You go on an airplane, not only have they already cleaned the surfaces, then the people are grabbing alcohol pads. You know, we sit here and double down on the lowest risk environments. Schools are very low risk. Healthy children have an extremely low risk of the disease, and they only rarely spread the disease. This is proven for over a year and a half, yet we double down on schools. Airlines, there's never been significant outbreaks of cases. This is before vaccines. Everyone's vaccinated now, yet we double down on airlines. You hear every 5 minutes an announcement about putting masks on between chewing, bites of food. I mean, this is a complete denial of science, a complete denial, unique to the United States, by the way, of just ignoring the natural immunity after recovering from the infection.
Now, last week, I was on the Tucker Carlson show, and we were talking about Kamala Harris's unpopularity.
So no one outside of her own neighborhood had ever heard of Kamala Harris before she showed up as Willie Brown's girlfriend. Then a few years later, she became Montel Williams' girlfriend. Interesting.
Long before she met Doug Emhoff, she dated some prominent men, including in 2001, former talk show host Montel Williams. Back then, he was the famous one and had to introduce her to the paparazzi.
It's interesting that tape never played anywhere before the election. I mean, it probably wouldn't have made a difference, but it would have been nice to know. Anyway, as you know, Kamala Harris somehow went on to become a senator and then the vice president of the United States. Now, she accomplished all of that without really any support from actual voters. We know that because there's a lot of polling on it. Virtually no one in California, her home state, for example, supported her presidential campaign. And now currently she has an approval rating of 28%, right around Jeffrey Dahmer's approval rating. Why? I don't know. Moments like this.
She would tell the story about how so they're marching. And this is back when strollers didn't really have armrests and seatbelts. So they're marching away and, shouting and all of that. And then I think it was my Uncle Freddie, looked down and looked in the stroller, which was empty. And said, "Where's Kamala?" And apparently they left me like a block behind. I'd fallen out the stroller. There you go. go. And then my mother would tell a funny story about how, like, one day and I was fussing, and so I'm fussing and fussing. It's much cuter when she would tell the story, but she'd say, so then she would look down at me and, Kamala, what do you want? What do you want? And I looked back up at her and I said, freedom!
It's just fascinating watching that, how transparently false it is. It's like everyone went along with what everyone could tell was a lie. It's interesting. So Larry Elder is from California. In fact, he just ran for governor of California. We strongly supported him in that. He's a radio host there. He joins us tonight to assess Kamala Harris. Larry Elder, great to see you. Thank you.
You too. Thank you for having me.
You've watched Kamala Harris for years. Like, what do you make of this?
Right.
It's baffling to me.
Well, it is baffling because if you look at it on paper, Tucker, she's a pretty successful politician. She ran for and got elected Attorney General in California, beating out her competition. She ran for and got elected Senator, beating out her competition. And then she had this disaster run as Vice President. And as you pointed out, even people in California didn't support her. You know, the key to being a successful politician, having been one for 8 weeks, a couple of things. It is authenticity and likability. And she has neither. And part of it is because you look at things like her record as AG. She was known as a hard on crime AG. And then she got kind of busted during the debate with Tulsi Gabbard when she pointed out that she prosecuted marijuana offenders, not possession, but offenders, dealers, and then joked about marijuana on a radio program. She also bragged that she was the last person in the room when Joe Biden made the decision to pull out of Afghanistan, which means she's part of that decision. And the only reason, in my opinion, she became vice president is because she checked all the boxes. The Democrats in this woke era are no longer going to have 2 white males on the ticket. It's got to be at least a person of color, hopefully a person of color who's a female. So she checked all the boxes and has proven herself to be basically utterly incompetent. They're now backbiting. She'd even accused, or at least one of her staffers has accused Joe Biden of being racist. So she's not unwilling to pull the race card in order to defend herself. And that's offended a lot of people. You played her laugh. She has this cackle that a lot of people just find off-putting. When she gets into a tough position, when she doesn't have an answer for something, when somebody corners her, she reverts to this silly laughter, and it just angers people. And Tucker, if I can say one more thing, it's not fixed in stone. The good news for her is that 2024 is a mile away, and as you know, that's an eternity in politics, and you can change that. Ronald Reagan was perceived by all of us who knew him as a sunny, optimistic guy, but a lot of Democrats didn't feel that way until he was shot. And here he is, the most anger he could summon against his would-be assassin was what's that guy's beef, and as he's being wheeled to the operating room, he tells the doctors, I hope you guys are all Republicans, and he told Nancy Reagan, I forgot to duck. And people said, wow, he really is genuine, he really is likable, so it's possible to change it. But given Kamala Harris's numbers, given her track record, given this laugh, given the way she's run away from her record as being tough on crime, she had the most left-wing voting record, more left-wing than Bernie Sanders, and then positioned herself as a centrist. Sometimes she says she's a black woman when she ran. Sometimes she says she's an Asian Indian woman when she ran out here in California. So she's perceived to be utterly inauthentic and utterly unlikable.
Yeah, I'd rather have Willie Brown any day. And I don't agree with Willie Brown, but at least he's a real person. No, I did very nicely put. Right. Larry Elder, thank you. Good to see you tonight.
Coming up, the doctor who served as the physician for both Donald Trump and Barack Obama, Ronnie Jackson, he's now a member of Congress in Texas. He talked about Biden's health report and what it omitted. We're going to talk about that later on. Also, what in the world are we going to do about the growing amount of people who are just not escaping justice, not being charged, soft on crime DAs? I met somebody at church the other day whose mother was murdered, and he's very angry that the defendant is not facing the most severe charges. California governor does not want criminal enhancements because a disproportionate number of people of color are committing crime. I said this earlier. You white people out there, step it up, commit more crime. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Boy, the state of Florida just fined Leon County $3.5 million because they fired 14 employees.
Coercion is just totally wrong. I think it's destroying trust in public health to the extent that there was still trust left over after all the stuff that's been done. But I think it's really, really negative, and I think you're going to end up driving people away.
You know, Governor DeSantis makes a great observation about the way the mandate is driving people in the other direction. And that's why companies have got to stop the mandates. This just has to stop. This isn't working. You cannot fire people over a vaccine.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
He is America. Captain America's trying, but nah, not so much. It's Superman. That's why kids have loved him. Adults have loved. When I saw Superman, I was, 8 years old, and I saw Christopher Reeve. You believed a man could fly. And I wanted to be an American. And now I am. But they've killed it. They killed James Bond in the new movie. Sorry, guys, spoilers. I've seen it. It's crap. Don't waste your time. They killed James Bond. Dead. Gone. Because I guess what? He was too sexy? Too toxic in his masculinity? Gone! And now they've done it with the Superman franchise. I posted this yesterday. Turned my Instagram on fire. The image of Superman in a homosexual kiss. Because DC Comics, I guess they don't want to sell comics. And now the new Superman, the son of Kal-El, is going to come out as gay. Or as Jeff pointed out, I guess he's bi, right? Whatever, who cares? But here's the bottom line. This is beautiful. I hope Media Matters is writing this one up. Hey, Zachy Poo, are you typing? How many homosexuals, how many gay people are there in society? 1%, 1.5%. Let's be generous. Let's double it. 3%! 3% of America are gay. And the gay people I know, they don't rub it in your face.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Mark Milley admitted yesterday that for that pathetic pseudo-journalist Bob Woodward, for his new blockbuster dishing book of scandal, Mark Milley gave him hours of interviews. Hours? Sorry. How busy should the chairman of the Joint Chiefs be? Just curious. Is the Taliban...
Hey, Larry, this is Ron. I'm listening to your show about your father and enjoying it just enormously. I'm an older guy, grew up in a Midwest small city, moved to Chicago, moved to Dallas, Texas, and have grown with all of that motion, and just really appreciate the life that your father lived and the life that you're living. Thanks a bunch. Appreciate you guys.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Later on, we're going to talk about the former doctor for both Obama and Trump, who said that Joe Biden's health report did not include a cognitive test. Pourquoi? Now, I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving weekend. Christmas is now, 27 days away? So today we kick off the final few weeks of my annual campaign to help boys and girls who have a mom or dad in prison, help them nevertheless experience the joy of Christmas and the love of Christ through the non-profit Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree campaign. Every Christmas we do this, and with generous help from listeners just like you, Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree delivers gifts and the gospel to hundreds of thousands of kids all around the country on behalf of their incarcerated parents. You can make a difference, an eternal difference in the lives of these kids when you support Angel Tree. Just go to my website, larryelder.com, and you'll see the Angel Tree banner at the very top. The cost to help reach just one child with Angel Tree is only $25. $125 will help reach 5 children. You do the math. Listen to Cassidy, whose dad is in prison. She knows from firsthand experience how Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree volunteers can truly help make Christmas special.
If you're thinking about donating to Angel Tree, it's a really good thing to do, to contribute to us kids, because it'll make us feel special and make us feel like we're important in life, and it'll make us feel loved, and everyone wants to feel loved. Thank you, Angel Tree, for helping me connect with my dad. Makes me feel important.
Now that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what we're all about. Your gifts can make it happen. Let's make this Christmas the best holiday ever for as many kids as possible. Please call my special donation number, 888-206-2763. That's 888-206-2763. Or just go to my website, larryelder.com. You'll see the Angel Tree banner at the very top. 888-206-2763. 888-206-2763. Or go to larryelder.com and click on the Angel Tree banner at the very top. My guest has written an article called Support for More Gun Control Falls, but Partisan Gap Grows. It's up on larryelder.com. He is founder and president of the Crime Prevention Research Center, website crimeresearch.org, author of More Guns, Less Crime, The Bias Against Guns. His most recent books are Dumbing Down the Courts and The War on Guns. Please welcome back to the program, Professor John Lott. John, how are you?
Doing great. Had fun celebrating the 400th anniversary of Thanksgiving over the weekend, but doing well.
Good. I was just about to ask you how your Thanksgiving was.
It was good. Got to see a lot of the family, so it was nice to see them again.
I would imagine. I would imagine you're happy about this new Gallup poll showing that support for gun control, or more gun control, has fallen by 15 percentage points in just the last 5 weeks.
5 years.
I'm sorry,
right.
5 years.
And it's not the only poll that shows that. There's also a new Quinnipiac poll that shows something very similar. That shows that Americans oppose stricter gun control by a 49 to 45% margin. But I think, as you mentioned, the one thing that concerns me is just the growing partisan divide. The big drop has primarily occurred among independents. Republicans were already fairly strongly against increases in gun control, and they moved somewhat even more strongly in that direction. But Democrats, at the same time, have moved progressively more strongly for stricter gun control. You look at both the Quinnipiac poll and the Gallup poll show that 91% of Democrats support even stricter gun control laws. By contrast, the Quinnipiac poll shows that only 13% of Republicans support it. And just to give you an idea, when Democrats talk about, or gun control people talk about reasonable or common sense gun control laws, 40% of Democrats support a complete ban on handguns for civilians. 88% support a ban on semi-automatic rifles. I assume they get that confused with machine guns and what have you. But you take those things. The vast majority of guns in the United States are semi-automatic guns. You ban all handguns. You ban semi-automatic rifles. You're going to be banning the vast majority of guns in the United States, and so it's kind of hard to view those types of things as reasonable or common sense regulations, but it also gives you an idea where the Democratic politicians may be coming from, given their base.
My guest is John Lott. He's president and founder of the Crime Prevention Research Center. The obvious question, John, how do you explain this divide? 91% of Democrats support further gun control. Only 24% of Republicans do. And 40%, as you pointed out, of Democrats support a complete ban on civilian ownership of handguns. Only 6% of Republicans do. Why the gap?
I suppose it's similar to a gap that we've seen on other issues. I mean, look at the Kyle Rittenhouse case. You had something like 90% of Democrats thought that he was guilty. You had not quite the reverse, but a fairly reverse percentage for Republicans. I think a lot of it depends on kind of what news sources people rely on. When I did a report earlier this year where we were looking at news coverage, if you look at the top 5 newspapers in the United States in terms of circulation, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Washington Post, USA Today, and the Wall Street Journal, between them they had over 2,700 stories that they had written on gun crimes. At the same time, they had a total of only 10 stories on defensive gun uses. And about half of those were defensive gun uses that had gone bad, very unusual types of cases. If you watched ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, you wouldn't have seen one single news story on a defensive gun use occurring. So, is it surprising that people who may consider themselves, widely read and, keeping up on the news, if those are the types of sources they rely on for getting their information? If you only hear about bad things that happen with guns and never hear about the benefits, and even the couple times where they do have benefits, it's something that went wrong with defensive gun use. It's not too surprising to me that you get the type of dichotomy that you do just on the Rittenhouse case.
John, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about something that you did a few years ago. The LA Times challenged you to find stories of defensive gun use. I think they gave you a couple weeks to do it, and you came back and had a bunch of them, and they were flabbergasted by all of that. So, John, please don't go away. I want to remind people about this LA Times challenge that you took them up on. I am Larry Elder, John Lott. Support for gun control is falling, but not among Democrats.
The Pilgrims. They were poor. They were outcasts. They were enemies of the state for their refusal to submit to the Church of England.
The Mayflower was a cargo ship, but the most precious cargo that was carried across the Atlantic were the ideas in the hearts of the Pilgrims that were drawn from the Bible.
Not only did they start self-rule, they started free trade, capitalism, land ownership, all in 10 years with 51 people.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
So why?
Testimony, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
That was before the defense testimony.
Don't get brazen with me. You knew very well. You know very well that an attorney can't go into these types of areas when the judge has already ruled without asking outside the presence of the jury to do so. So don't give me that. That's number one.
I have to tell you, I haven't sat in front of a lot of judges in real time. I did it once for a speeding ticket in my life. I have watched many trials on TV, real ones. I don't think I've ever seen a judge as pissed as that. He actually looked, if you weren't watching on the video, he looked infuriated. He was jumping up in his seat and he said, "Don't get brazen with me," to the deputy district attorney. Look, predictions, it's a mug's game. But right now, based upon how the judge is responding to the way that this evil bunch of hyenas are trying to make... the fact of the matter of this, Rittenhouse killed 2 people. Both of them were criminals. One of them had just been released from jail for doing what? Raping young boys. If it were up to me, that would be a death penalty automatic in America. Rape a child death. End of story. That's the reason nations create capital punishment. He got out, which is just so understanding and empathetic of us. He threatened people all day, and then he used force and threatened Kyle Rittenhouse.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Obama tore this country down. No one stood up to him. Nobody. Because he was black. You need to wake up.
You was your house nigga. I didn't call you a nigga.
Oh, okay. That's a big difference.
You're Uncle Tom.
And Uncle Tom is somebody who has sold out by embracing the white man.
Uncle Tom,
bedwench,
bootlicker,
black white supremacist,
chucking and jiving,
house Negro,
coon,
Uncle Tom,
coon.
I have a
cool award over there. Most black people don't believe that other blacks can be independent, free thinkers.
I believe the legacy and the ancestry of black Americans is being insulted every single day. I will not pretend to be a victim in this country. I know that makes many people on the left uncomfortable.
The liberal will try to control a black person through the concept of racism because they know that we are very proud, emotional people.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
You called your son, and you personally promised him you would be here.
Lucas, I don't know how to help you.
Your daddy loves you, you gotta know it, pal.
Do you feel the love?
Hi, Larry. I am listening to your story over this Thanksgiving weekend about you and your father. I just want to say I just admire you even more. I've been tuned into you since, 20 years ago. So God bless you. I wish you were our governor of California.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio later on. The former doctor for Obama and Trump say that when Joe Biden underwent his physical exam, he did not undergo the same cognitive test that Donald Trump did. Also, the trial in the case of Jussie Smollett is beginning. I can't believe this thing is even going to trial. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243 is the number. My guest has a article we have on LarryElder.com called Support for More Gun Control Falls, but Partisan Gap Grows. He is Professor John Lott. John, some years ago, I was talking about defensive uses of guns, and I cited a study, I think it was from Gary Kleck from Florida, and it was like 1.25 million people use guns every year to defend themselves, usually just brandishing it. And of that number, something like 40% believe but for the gun, they would have been seriously hurt, if not killed. I get a letter from an engineer, and he said, "Dear Larry, I have an engineer buddy. He and I were having dinner, and I heard your show, and I asked my engineer buddy, how many people does he feel every year use firearms for defensive purposes? And he said 50. 50 in the entire country, John. 50. And you've just now pointed out that this is likely because of their news sources. So as I recall, some years ago, you told me that the LA Times challenged you to find, over a period of a few weeks, stories or cases where people use guns to defend themselves. And you went out and did it and reported back, and they were shocked that there were so many.
Right. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think the editors for the New York Times these days would be open to such a piece. But look, I mean, it's not too surprising that they're shocked. They read the LA Times. I mean, how many defensive gun uses do you read about in the Los Angeles Times? But so from January through August this year, we looked for all the defensive gun uses we could find that were covered in the media. And there are about 1,000 stories in news media across the country. The thing is, once you start looking at those cases, you realize how much they're missing. So, for example, what makes something newsworthy doesn't necessarily reflect reality. So, for example, we know that woundings are about 8 times more frequent than killings when guns are fired. And we know that, as you say, the vast majority, about 95% of defensive gun uses merely involve brandishing. They don't involve anybody firing a shot. And then you have some warning shots that are fired. Less than 1%, way less than 1% of the time that guns are used defensively is the attacker killed. And less than 1% of the time is the attacker wounded. But yet when you look at these news stories, what do you think most of the news stories involve? Mm-hmm. Most of them involve cases where the attacker was killed. Close second to that, over 40% of them, involve cases where the attacker's been wounded. Only 4% of the defensive gun uses involve brandishing, and the vast majority of those involve cases where something unusual has happened, like the person using the gun defensively has held the attacker there at bay until the police arrive. It's just the opposite. I can understand if you're an editor of a news bureau and you have 2 cases in front of you. One case, there's a dead body on the ground, a sympathetic person like a victim. In another case, let's say a woman's brandished a gun, the would-be attackers run away, no shots are fired. You're not even sure what crime would have been committed if the woman hadn't been able to defend herself. What story are you going to pick as more newsworthy? I think any one of us would pick the dead body as being more newsworthy than the other story. But the thing is, just because something's newsworthy doesn't mean that it's giving you an accurate impression of what's actually happening. You can tell. Just the fact that they have so few woundings relative to murders or killings, or you have so few brandishings relative to either of the other two, you know that it's not reflecting anywhere near close to reality.
Well, John, we're going to have to leave it there. My guest has been Professor John Lott. John, as always, thank you very much for coming on. His article is called Support for More Gun Control Falls, but Partisan Gap Grows. He is founder and president of the Crime Prevention Research Center, the website crimeresearch.org. That's crimeresearch.org. As always, John, thank you very much for taking the time.
Great talking to you. Thanks for being there.
You got it. 1.25 million. Dear Larry, I was talking to an engineer buddy of mine, and he said that probably about 50 times a year people use firearms to defend themselves. 50? Just a bit outside. Now, $800 a year. That's how much the average family is putting back in their pockets every year by switching to Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile and switching over to Pure Talk. You get the same great coverage on the same great 5G network as one of the big guys, but for about half the cost. I made the switch, and I'm not kidding. The coverage, the U.S.-based customer service, fantastic. The pricing is fair. Really, it's like wholesale rates. Unlimited talk, text, and 6 gigs of data for just $30 a month. And right now, get Pure Talk's Black Friday pricing on phones, like the iPhone 12, just $479. I'm a Pure Talk customer, and with their 30-day risk-free guarantee, you ought to be a Pure Talk customer too. Here's what you need to do. From your cell phone, just dial pound 250 and say Larry Elder. You're going to save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 and say Larry Elder, pound 250 and say Larry Elder. Some restrictions apply. Call for details, pound 250 and say Larry Elder.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Mark Milley admitted yesterday that for that pathetic pseudo-journalist Bob Woodward, for his new blockbuster dishing book of scandal, Mark Milley gave him hours of interviews. Hours? Sorry. How busy should the chairman of the Joint Chiefs be? Just curious. As the Taliban is ready to take back Afghanistan, these are interviews he gave this stinking year. This year! As the Taliban is rising, as China is building its military, as Iran is threatening us, as Russia is being ever more militaristic, you're sitting down for hours with an avowed, rabid Democrat, quote-unquote, journalist to give inside scoops on how you stood up to President Trump by undermining the chain of command that you by the Constitution are not a part of? What the hell are you doing? Maybe those hours could have been spent, I don't know, reading the Long War Journal by our friend Bill Roggio, where he predicted in March that the Taliban would be in control and Kabul would fall. Maybe you would better spend your time reading books like Cynical Theories, reading the works of Chris Rufo about what critical race theory really is and why it's racism and bigotry. But oh no, you had to be a politician.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
He is America. Captain America's trying, but nah, not so much. It's Superman. That's why kids have loved him. Adults have loved. When I saw Superman, I was 8 years old, and I saw Christopher Reeve. You believed a man could fly. And I wanted to be an American, and now I am. But they've killed it. They killed James Bond in the new movie. Sorry, guys, spoilers. I've seen it. It's crap. Don't waste your time. They killed James Bond. Dead. Gone. Because I guess what? He was too sexy?
Hi, Larry. I see where LeBron James was kicked out because of an obscene gesture. Well, he's been giving obscene gestures to the middle class of America probably the last 8 years. He's pulled the slot for Democrats. Just pulled a little lever for Democrats. You can't get any more obscene than that.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Speaking of LeBron James, Ines Cantor called him out again on Fox News. We'll talk about that later on as well. Now, we are ready to launch something really big. I want you to be part of it. If you enjoyed listening to my show, you're going to love watching it. Also on SalemNewsChannel.com or the app with the same name. Load it on the Apple or Android store or watch us on Roku. Just type Salem News Channel into the search bar and check us out. We are the antidote to the mainstream media. Soon we're going to begin adding new TV-only hours. This is only going to get bigger and better. Thank you for all you're doing to make this thing successful. We are on a mission, and you are a huge part of it. Ronnie Jackson is the former White House physician. He served in that role both under Presidents Obama and Trump. And as you might recall, he put on a press conference when he examined Donald Trump and talked about Trump's cognitive abilities. The test that Trump took, Trump said that he aced it. Turns out that test was not administered to Joe Biden when he had his latest physical. Here's what Dr. Ronnie Jackson, now Representative Ronnie Jackson, said about that.
There was a lot missing, Rob. Honestly, there were 6 pages of stuff that most people don't care about. I mean, Dr. O'Connor spent 6 pages addressing like an occasional cough and some stiffness and things like that. When the elephant in the room was the president's cognitive ability. Over 50% of this country does not believe he's cognitively fit to be our commander-in-chief and our head of state, yet that wasn't addressed anywhere in there. We set the precedent when we did President Trump's physical. I did. The far left and the mainstream media were relentless in their pursuit of me to do something to address not only his physical capabilities, but his mental capabilities, which we did. We did a cognitive test. As far as I'm concerned, we set the precedent. And he should have had one done as well. I mean, if anyone needs a cognitive test, it's this president that we have right now. And I was really surprised to see there wasn't any mention of anything like that in there.
I wasn't surprised.
I don't think they did it. They didn't do it because they know if they do it, you don't ask questions or you don't want the answers to. And essentially, I mean, that's his approach right now, is not to ask questions that he doesn't want the answers to.
Right.
They know that if they gave him a cognitive test that he would have failed miserably, and then they would have had to explain that away somehow. And Dr. O'Connor should have done what I had to do whenever I briefed President Trump's physical, is stand up in front of the press in the press briefing room and brief the physical. I was up there for an hour and 15 minutes answering every single question that the press had, picking his physical apart. And instead, what did we get? We just got a 6-page report, and that's the end of it. We're supposed to just move on and play like everything's fine now.
Mr. McConnell, will you find out whether or not Jen Psaki was asked about Biden not taking the cognitive test that Donald Trump did? You know, after all, Joe Biden says...
Great Negro at the time.
Donald Trump weighed in on Biden's cognitive abilities.
All I can say is I know President Xi, I know Putin, I know Kim Jong-un, I know all the leaders of the world. I got to know them very well. Most of them I like, many of them I like, although tough cookies. They're all at the top of their game. We need somebody that's at the top of the game. And, you know, maybe it should be mandated that you take like cognitive tests or something. But you can't have the head of China, the head of Russia, the head of these powerful nations being at the top of their game. Look at what's happening. Look how weak we look. Look how we look. You don't think that Russia, China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, and all these other people that hate us, you don't think that they were watching and laughing all the way to the bank? Look at, I mean, with what happened in Afghanistan.
Speaking of watching and laughing, can you believe that there is going to be a trial, apparently, of Jussie Smollett? This is a guy who claimed that he was jumped. Attackers were yelling, he's in MAGA country, Chicago's MAGA country. Said that the men used racist and homophobic slurs, wrapped a rope around his neck, poured an unknown substance on him. Smollett is black and gay. Chicago police said they reviewed hundreds of thousands of surveillance camera footage. Couldn't find the attack. After the alleged attack, Kamala Harris put out a tweet, talked about hate crimes and how nice a guy that Jussie Smollett is and horrible this happens to him. He claimed that he fought back, opened a concert out here in Hollywood with a big speech and said he's the gay Tupac because he fought the bleep back. By the way, whatever happened to the tuna fish footlong? Did that ever surface? You know, somebody tried to take away his footlong. He fought back. That's what you do. Chicago arrested 2 Nigerian brothers at the O'Hare airport. Apparently they were trying to leave town. Later on, the brothers say that Smollett paid them to stage this alleged hate crime. The top prosecutor, Kim Fox, had to recuse herself from the investigation. Concerns over her lack of partiality. The Chicago police superintendent said that the man, Smollett, staged the attack because he was unhappy with his salary. He was, at the time, on that program called Empire and wanted publicity. Investigators say they have the $3,500 check that Smollett used to pay the brothers to help him. The Cook County grand jury returned a 16-count indictment, charging him with, among other things, falsely reporting an offense. City officials say Chicago was seeking $130,000 from him to cover the cost of the investigation. And the Cook County State AG issued thousands of documents in the case in response to an open records request, including a text from the AG, state AG, calling him a washed-up celeb who was overcharged. A judge appointed a U.S. attorney as a special prosecutor to investigate why charges against him were dropped. Then a grand jury returned a 6-count indictment against him, accusing him of lying to the cops. Can you believe this thing is going to trial? Now, vaccinated or not, everybody can benefit from a stronger immune system. Immunity Armor Gold's 9 key ingredients work together to help your body build a stronger immune system. People with stronger immune systems have more favorable outcomes when disease strikes. Taking Immunity Armor Gold helped me sustain my energy and maintain my health when I was campaigning. People also report better sleep quality, healthier blood pressure levels, even improved hair growth. Made here in the country, Immunity Armor Gold is GMO, gluten, and allergen-free, has no stimulants, artificial sweeteners, or colors, and the best part, no pills to swallow because it is made in a powdered form that mixes in water. Go to Immunity Armor Gold, one word, immunityarmorgold.com. Use promo code Larry10 to get 10% off. That's immunityarmorgold.com, promo code Larry10 for 10% off.
Hi, Larry. I'm calling from the Bay Area in California, and I just want to thank you. And I'm enjoying your story about your dad and your family. Reminds me of when I was little with my mom and dad. Thanks. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. By the way, I am in discussions about turning that book, Dear Father, Dear Son, into a motion picture. I'm not kidding you. I will report as events develop. 888-971-SAGE. Now, I mentioned this NBA player. Enes Kanter, he is from Switzerland. He is of Turkish descent. And even calling out Lebron James, calling out the NBA for not holding China up to the same standards that they hold the country up to. He was on Fox News.
Are you trying to make a name for yourself by calling out LeBron?
I mean, come on now. I mean, if you see the things that I talk about, you know, I talk about human rights, I talk about political prisoners, I talk about all the human rights violations that are happening all over the world. It is not named for myself. It is bringing awareness of what's going on over there in the world. So he is lying 100%.
What happened when you saw each other behind the scenes?
Well, first of all, he's lying about that too, because I actually walked out of tunnel and I stopped to take a picture with a kid, and he was right behind me, and he was the one literally walked right past me and didn't say anything. But hey, I'm always open to talk for sure. Whenever he wants to have a conversation, it's going to be a very uncomfortable conversation for him. But whenever he wants to talk, I'm always here.
By the way, Candace says he just became a U.S. citizen.
You know, the thing is, these athletes or these organizations and these companies, when it comes to, just America, they love to criticize, but when the things that they criticize affects their money or their business or their endorsement deal, they remain silent. This is being very phony. So that's why someone had to call out these organizations, these companies, and these athletes and hold them accountable. 2 years ago, when we were in bubble, NBA standing with Black Lives Matter, and it gave me so much hope and motivation. I was like, finally, an organization standing up for something bigger than basketball, right? But to me, it was very fake when it comes to things like what's happening in China, because NBA and also Adam Silver is the one telling us to speak out against all the injustices happening, not just in America, but all over the world.
Except when it comes to China, of course. Steve Kerr was unavailable for comment. Coach Popovich unavailable for comment. I am Larry Elder. Let's do this again tomorrow. Salute.